WCBI News at 10 starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Scott Martin. The future of OCH Regional Medical Center was up for discussion in Starkville today. The Oktibbeha County Board of Supervisors called a special meeting to discuss requests for proposal concerning the possible sale of the county-owned hospital. Our Quentin Smith is live in the studio with more.
Scott, board members were in executive session for over 2 hours today discussing the bids they received on OCH. Now, in the press release they issued once the meeting was over, the board says they agreed to go along with the sale of OCH if that's what the voters choose on November 7th. Now, the deadline for all proposals to be submitted was on September 15th. Now, the board would not say how many bids they received, but they did, however, have certain requirements for potential buyers to meet if they do, in fact, sell the hospital. Some of those requirements include the hospital must make $25 million after paying $35 million in hospital-related bond financing. Also, they must have a plan to keep existing employees and promote employee retention and stability, just to name a few. Now, the board's consultant, Ted Woodrell, says the board can't release any information regarding the proposal they received today until after the referendum on November 7th.
The council and I met several times to go through the proposals so we could score them. And by scoring, I mean put them down to the key elements so that the supervisors would have the right information in front of them to make a decision whether or not to continue to negotiate with them or not. I think it was handled very appropriately. It was decided to move forward with further negotiations if the referendum is passed.
Now, in a release this evening from the Friends of OCH, the president, Dr. Steve Parvin, expressed his disappointment with the process, saying, quote, "The information handed out by the Board of Supervisors consultant regarding the bids provides very limited information. Once again, the process has not been transparent. It's unfortunate the supervisors have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers and have not involved the citizens who are the owners of the hospital. We are working to provide the facts with all Oktibbeha voters so they can make an informed decision on November 7th. Scott, back to you.
All right, thanks, Quentin. It's not often that a special election runoff draws much attention, but when it's for an open Senate seat in Alabama, it can bring out voters and party heavyweights. Former Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore and Senator Luther Strange were running for the Republican nomination in the race to replace former Senator Jeff Sessions. Both President Trump and Vice President Pence have been stumping for Strange, but Moore also attracted some star power, including Sarah Palin and Steve Bannon, and the AP has declared Roy Moore the winner of that race. He faces off against Democrat Doug Jones December 12th. New at 10, a Columbus man is serving life in prison for a 2010 murder, and he's not going to get out anytime soon. Renzino Harris was tried and convicted in 2013 for the shooting death of Justin Murray. Murray and Michael Brewer intervened as Harris was assaulting his ex-girlfriend. After the fight, Harris left the house, came back later with a gun, shooting and killing Murray and wounding Brewer. Harris tried to claim self-defense. The jury found him guilty of murder. Harris was appealing that conviction based on insufficient evidence and errors in the trial judge's rulings on testimony. The Court of Appeals found no errors and affirmed the circuit court's decision and sentence. New developments in a story we first brought you last night. Investigators have released photos of a vehicle and picture of a man deputies consider a person of interest in a hit-and-run crash that left a man dead last night. Now, the images came from a gas station immediately following that crash. Deputies say a vehicle hit 23-year-old Deshante Nix on Old Highway 25 Monday night. Sheriff Steve Gladney says Nix was on a bicycle traveling in the southbound lane when a car in that lane hit his bike. The driver of that car got out to check on the bicyclist who was then in the northbound lane. That's when another car ran over the cyclist and didn't stop. That car is believed to be a yellow Scion. The owner of a funeral home is behind bars in connection to an insurance scam. Kim Reddle Dotson is charged with 4 counts of committing false pretense. Deputies say Dotson failed to forward life insurance premiums to Security National Life Insurance Company. Dotson turned himself in to Choctaw County deputies last week. If convicted, he could spend up to 40 years in prison. Time now to get a first look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. Hey, Keith.
Scott, very nice weather out there this evening. The skies are clear, and check this out. There's the moon, and that faint little dot right there, that is the planet Saturn. We can see that live from downtown Columbus with our Alpha Insurance camera. Pretty nice evening out there. Generally low 70s to mid 70s. Louisville, the cool spot, 69 degrees right now. We're going to be warm tomorrow. No surprise here. It's been warm for a while. We stay warm tomorrow, around 90, partly cloudy. Can't rule out a stray shower, but for the most part, most of us will stay dry. Upper 80s, low 90s across the board. We will cool down a little bit later this week. I'll let you know when in just a few minutes.
A new business is moving to Mathiston. Over a decade ago, the Red Cap building closed its doors, but now that's all changing. Parker King has the story.
Every day, people pass the empty Red Cap building, an eyesore for the Mathiston community. In the next few months, however, new life will be brought to both the facility and Mathiston, thanks to a local company.
They're going to see an immediate impact from having more employees here on a daily basis through sales tax revenues, and then also through the property taxes that this property has.
The company taking over is Gundog Supply in Starkville. The successful internet retail company has had constant growth over its 40-year history, and their current space almost can't handle it.
We've outgrown it. We're actually crammed in here right now, so we moved on the building in Mathiston because it was a larger building.
This move to Mathiston is one of several the area has been seeing over the years.
Many are seeing the competitive advantages of locating into Webster County, and that's something that we certainly want to share, and we're very proud that someone from this region has also seen the advantage to doing business here in Webster County.
Store supervisors are not sure how much of an impact this move will have, but they hope to help fill the shoes left by Red Cap.
There was a lot of people employed in that industry, and a lot of folks lost their job in Webster County. And we're hoping, although we're not the same size employer as Red Cap, we're hopefully going to be able to expand and grow there and replace some of that loss that they've experienced over the years.
Lack of maintenance has left the building in poor shape. It will take some time to fix up, but Gundog sees the potential and is anxious for the transition.
If it could happen tomorrow, it'd be perfect, but we're going to do it right, and we're looking forward to working there and working with the county and the folks in Webster County and in Mathiston.
Gundog hopes to move to Mathiston in the spring.
Summer-like warmth holding on here in the deep south right now, 70s and 80s. There is some fall-like air back to the northwest. Now, we'll tap into a little bit of this later this week now. It's not going to be earth-shattering here, but I'll let you know about the cool down coming up.
Your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
Friendly clouds across our region today. For the most part, we had a few isolated showers, but these were friendly clouds in Tupelo, and we did see a pretty nice sunset once the clouds got out of here. Very warm today. We were around 90. We did squeeze out just a little bit of moisture. You can see some of those showers showing up, at least the rainfall showing up there east of Winona, in and around Winona, down there towards Kosciuszko, southwest of Louisville. Yes, a little bit of rain, a brief downpour perhaps, but right now we are all quiet in our neck of the woods here. Just a little bit of ground clutter showing on up. Still a little batch, a tiny little batch of showers there near Hattiesburg. The big rain shield out here across the high plains from Kansas City to OKC down to Austin and San Antonio. It's wet and cooler behind the front coming our way, but that rain you see right there, look at all of that rain. It is not coming our way. We could see a pop-up shower tomorrow or Thursday, but don't really get too excited. That's what we're dealing with right now. Just not a lot of energy coming our way to give us some widespread showers. 7 o'clock tomorrow, or 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 71 degrees, 86 by noon, 90 or so by the afternoon hours. Northerly breezes at 5 to 10. Widespread upper 80s, low 90s here. It will be a warm day across the Twin States. Now, speaking of the cool down, here we go. We're going to have a little taste of some fall-like air for this weekend. Not a tremendous taste, just a little bit of a nibble there. Highs around 80, overnight lows into the 50s, about where we should be for this time of year. That will go away, and I think we're going to warm things up again, back into the 80s again, mid to upper 80s, or low to mid 80s at least, maybe some upper 80s next week, but it will be a little bit warmer after the weekend. 70s around here right now. As we put the forecast into motion, you can see upper 80s to around 90 on Wednesday. As we get into Thursday, just a little taste of that cooler air coming on down. Low to mid 80s for us, some 70s not too far away in Tennessee. Around 80 here on Friday, 70s not too far away. A very pleasant end to the work week. And as we get into your weekend, Saturday around 80. Same story for Sunday, too. That's the way it is looking. Not a lot of moisture. Very nice weather for the weekend. Let's just say we are on easy street at this point. So there's the front coming our way. It will try to squeeze out a few showers as it moves on through the region over the next 48 hours. But the big story here will be some drier northerly breezes behind the front, and that will give us that slightly cooler air mass, but lower humidity for the weekend. So things are looking pretty nice. Lows getting back into the 50s, highs around 80. That's about where we should be for this time of year. We should be around 90, but that's where we will be tomorrow. And as we get past the weekend, there could be another little bit of a warm-up. Scott?
Some area students take time out of class to learn a few important life lessons. To explain next.
You're watching WCBI News at 10 with Scott Martin.
It wasn't your typical fire drill at Mississippi University for Women's Campus today, but it was Campus Safety Day. The Columbus Fire Department, MBI, Highway Patrol, and several others spent the afternoon giving safety information out to students. The fire department put on a mock residence hall room burn, showing students just how quickly a fire can spread. Students say events like this keep them prepared for the worst.
I think like this real-life, real-time event is allowing them to see what the repercussions of not escaping a room or not following the directions are in the event that that would happen.
Students even got to try on gear from area law enforcement to get a glimpse of what it's like to suit up in uniform. An area school is honoring those who work to keep us safe. Students in 6th through 12th grade art classes at Tupelo Christian Preparatory School are making posters and signs showing their appreciation for first responders and military veterans. There will be a special time of recognition for the veterans and first responders during their football game Thursday night. Organizers say it's a small way to honor those who sacrifice for their nation and neighbors.
Whatever side of the fence you're on, we live in a country where it's okay to be on different sides of the fences because of the men and women that are standing up and saying, today, I'm going to defend your right to say whatever you say, whether I agree with it or not.
I had a PowerPoint and the guys learned about different things, why we celebrate Veterans Day, and the things that the men and women who protect us that they do for us. So I think it's important for them to honor their veterans.
Military veterans and first responders are asked to be at the TCPS football field between 6:15 and 6:40 Thursday evening. Coming up, we hear from Gus Malzone ahead of Auburn's matchup with Mississippi State and slow pitch highlights from Hamilton and East Webster next in sports.
WCBI Sports with Robbie Donahoe.
It's the third of a three-game stretch for Mississippi State, all against top 25 teams, and the last one typically the toughest. And Auburn's coming off a thrashing of Missouri, and they're getting healthier at running back with Cam Petway expected to be back on the field. But Auburn's concern for MSU lies in watching the LSU win, not the Georgia game.
Well, if you turn the LSU film on, I mean, it's big time impressive. I mean, on both sides of the football. You know, and I think everybody in this room knows LSU's talent level and what they're capable of. So, you know, last week they were on the road. You got to give Georgia credit. You know, they played at an extremely high level. You have to expect you're going to get their best. I mean, every week. And that's the way we're looking at it. We expecting that we're going to get their best. And, I mean, obviously it'd be great to get off to a good start and all that. But they're a very good football team. You know, just look at them, I think they're probably one of the better teams in our league. I think that's fair to say, even though they had a tough one last week.
5 p.m. kick time from the Plains on ESPN between Mississippi State and Auburn. Georgia, Tennessee, will have that for you right here on WCBI. And as we mentioned before, if it's anything like last year's game, you're going to want to tune in for that one. Ole Miss Bama will be 8 p.m. coming up on Sunday night from Bryant-Denny in Tuscaloosa. So plenty of good football games for you to enjoy this Saturday. Well, if you haven't heard it by now, we're going to run through it once again. It was a bombshell that was dropped by the Federal Bureau of Investigation on college basketball today as the FBI formally announced that corruption and fraud charges were levied against assistant basketball coaches from Auburn, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and the University of Southern California, plus the director of global sports marketing at Adidas, Jim Gatto. Now, the Auburn assistant that's charged, you may know him from playing in the NBA, is Chuck Person, and he's facing a maximum sentence of 80 years in prison. Now, law enforcement officials expected to arrest about a half dozen other officials that were involved in these investigations, and the investigations are expected to continue as the FBI looks into alleged bribery and kickback schemes at other programs. It's a big deal. We'll continue to follow it in the days, weeks, and months to come. Let's go to softball. Hamilton on the road facing East Webster tonight. This was a fun, entertaining game in top two for Hamilton. Torrey Harrison. This one is not going to be catchable. 2-run shot to dead center. You don't usually hit it over that wall, but Torrey did there. 5-0 lead for the Hamilton Lady Lions. And then still in the inning, Hannah Rooks says, "Hey, Torrey, anything you can do, I can do better." This one's a solo shot to left over the fence. 6-0 lead for the Lady Lions. Bottom half now. East Webster trailing. 1 runner on here for Sydney Dewberry. She very nearly calls her shot as this one goes all the way to the fence and right. That would score Coy Jennings, but Hamilton would get the win tonight over East Webster. Good work back for the Lady Lions, 16-5 over the Lady Wolverines. To high school football now. We recognize the stars in the trenches and on the electric lines. It's time now for our Lineman of the Week.
The Okolona Lineman of the Week is brought to you by the City of Okolona Electric Department and TVA's new eScore Residential Energy Efficiency Program.
And Okolona's got a big one coming up Friday night against Smithville. We'll talk about the 1A poll here momentarily. We'll also talk a little more about our game of the week here in just a second. But the newest Mississippi AEP high school football polls are out. If you want to see the full list, it's online on our website right now at WCBI.com. West Point, not unanimous, but 12 of 15 first place votes. You see Starkville and Tupelo were also in the top 5. And speaking of Starkville, Tupelo, they are in the 6A top 5. Tupelo getting 3 first place votes, one of those first place votes coming from me. In the 5A top 5, West Point is not unanimous. There's still one person in Mississippi that thinks Cleveland Central is better than West Point. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. We don't have to agree with it. We just think that's crazy because we think West Point's the best team in the state. So they got 14 and 15 votes. 4A, Poplarville's unanimous now. Pontotoc and Louisville are in the 4A top 5 with Itawamba receiving votes. Pontotoc going to play Moorville this week. Louisville will be at home against New Hope, which should be a good one. 3A top 5, no area teams in the top 5, but South Pontotoc is receiving votes. Cougars remain undefeated. They will be at home this Friday against Hatley. In the 2A top 5, Calhoun City has the week off, so they'll get a chance to rest up and recuperate. East Webster and Eupora playing a pretty big one, the Maroon Bowl. It's our Carl Hogan Toyota game of the week. And in 1A, nothing changing here. It's been the same poll since like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we will have a story profiling the Maroon Bowl rivalry coming up on Thursday night. We hope you can join us for that. And Student Athlete of the Week coming up tomorrow night. That's it for sports. Last look at your forecast coming up.
In case you missed it, here's our planner for tomorrow. We start out around 71 at 8 o'clock. By noon, 86. In the afternoon, around 90. Here's our 7-day forecast. Trend downward a little bit, closer to 80 degrees for the upcoming weekend. Pretty nice. And don't forget, sunrise starts at 4:30 with Alex. He'll have the very latest.
All right, the weekend looks pretty nice.
Oh, yeah,
the
we're
80s,
always working towards the weekend, like the 80s
yeah,
song, right?
We live for the weekend,
Yes,
for
we
sure.
do.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night.